Registry Audio Reconstruction, TR 6202. The following account concerns 6 voicemail messages received by Mara L., night dispatcher for the Mercy Point Ferry Terminal, beginning 32 hours after her sister's cremation. The first message contained only breathing. Mara deleted it because grief makes people practical in ugly little ways. She had dishes to wash, ferry logs to reconcile, and a paper bag of her sister's clothes in the hall that smelled of hospital soap and wood smoke. She told herself the call was a pocket dial. The second message arrived at 1:11 a.m. The caller ID displayed Lena, though Lena's phone had been sealed in an evidence bag after the car went into the inlet. This time, the breathing was close enough to fog the speaker. Beneath it, a wet clicking moved in and out of rhythm, like a tongue testing new teeth. Mara saved that message. The registry later confirmed there was no cellular activity from Lena's number, no spoofing trail, no tower ping. The message had appeared on the device without crossing the network. Mercy Point is a town of foghorns, bait freezers, and houses built high because the sea keeps reconsidering its boundaries. People there speak softly about drownings. They lower their voices around tubs, wells, sinks left running. They know water does not forget a face once it has worn it. Lena had not drowned. That mattered to Mara, until it did not. Lena burned in the car before the tide reached her. The coroner was certain. The ashes were certain. The urn on Mara's mantle was certain. But the voicemails breathed like lungs learning to be sure. Message 3 included speech. One word, whispered through static. Borrow. Mara called the police. The officer who came to her apartment listened with one ear tilted toward the phone and the other toward the hall, as if expecting someone to answer from there. He said cruel people do cruel things after funerals. Then his radio crackled, and a woman's voice said, "Borrow," in the dispatch channel, though nobody at Central heard it. By dawn, Mara noticed that when she replayed the message, her own breathing changed to match it. Slow inhale, hold, ragged exhale, wet click. Slow inhale, hold. She stopped the playback, but her body continued for another minute, obeying the did rhythm. Evidence item A is a medical report from Mercy Point Urgent Care. Mara presented with chest pressure and a taste of brine. X-rays showed a faint, secondary branching pattern behind her lungs. Not shadows exactly, but pale, root-like structures extending toward the throat. The attending physician wrote, "Possible artifact," then crossed it out and wrote, "Patient grieving." 2 hours later, he left the clinic and walked into the harbor wearing his white coat. Message 4 arrived during his search. This one sounded like Lena, if Lena had recorded herself from the bottom of a well while smiling too wide. She said, "Mara, you kept the first breath. I need the rest." Mara threw the phone into the sink and turned on the garbage disposal. The blades shattered the screen, but did not stop the message. It played from the drain. It played from the kettle. It played from the small conch shell Lena had bought her as a joke and placed by the window. Every hollow thing in the apartment lowered Lena's voice. The registry became involved when Mara's 911 call lasted 47 minutes and consisted mostly of her insisting She could feel someone inhaling behind her ribs. Field agents found her sitting on the kitchen floor with tape over her mouth, writing on grocery receipts. She had filled 23 receipts with the sentence, "If I breathe out, she gets closer." The apartment's humidity measured 99%, though the windows were sealed and the heat was on. Condensation ran down the walls in vertical lines. In the bedroom, the bag of Lena's clothes had filled with seawater. Tiny white fish, eyeless and translucent, moved through the sleeves. Message 5 was received while agents were present. It began with Lena humming the ferry departure tone. Then she spoke in a crowd of voices, all women, all breathless. "Tell Mara the inlet is not where we went. Tell her the fire was a door. Tell her ash floats. Tell her lungs are rooms with curtains." Mara's breathing stopped for 11 seconds. During those seconds, the audio recorder picked up another respiration in the room. It did not come from Mara, the agents, or any visible source. It came from inside the urn on the mantel. When the lid was removed, the ashes were damp, not wet from outside moisture, but pulsing with it, as if each gray particle had remembered tide. Buried within the ash was a blackened tooth the coroner's inventory did not list. Around it, the ash had formed the shape of a tiny ear. The registry's working theory changed. The caller was not Lena as a ghost. It was not impersonation. It was a post-mortem occupant using grief as a signal amplifier, entering through the last breath people imagine their dead loved ones taking. In Mercy Point, where every family has rehearsed drowning in their minds, the signal found a choir. By evening, 6 residents reported calls from dead relatives. A husband heard his wife asking to try on his mouth. A boy heard his grandfather laughing from the showerhead. The ferry captain received a voicemail from all 17 passengers lost in the March storm of 1978, each taking turns with the same pair of lungs. Message 6 arrived at 9:03 p.m. Registry protocol required the device be isolated in a soundproof case. Mara begged them not to play it. The case fogged from the inside. They played it anyway, because evidence has a hunger of its own. There was no voice at first. Only the inhale. Longer than human, deeper than a room. Then Lena said, "I found where the breath goes when you waste it." The lights went out across Mercy Point. In the dark, every telephone in town rang once. No one who answered died immediately. That would have been simpler. Instead, they began holding their breath while asleep. Their spouses woke to blue lips, twitching hands, and the faint sound of someone else whisper counting from inside them. Mara ran to the ferry terminal. Cameras show her moving through fog with a hand pressed to her chest. The terminal loudspeakers turned on as she approached. Lena's voice came through them, gentle and almost amused. "You always took the last word, Mara." Mara entered the dispatch booth, locked the door, and used the emergency broadcast microphone. What follows is preserved in the registry archive because it slowed the outbreak. She said, "This is Mara L. If someone dead calls you, do not listen for the voice. Listen for the breath. If it matches yours, cough before it finishes. Break the pattern. Bite your tongue. Sing. Scream. Do not be polite to the dead thing wearing love. Then she played the fairy horn until the speakers blew. The sound ruptured windows along the harbor. It also interrupted the synchronized respiration pattern across town. 31 residents survived because of that broadcast. 7 did not. They were found with seawater in their lungs despite dying in dry rooms. Mara was found in the booth at dawn, alive, breathing normally. Her phone leaped beside her, screen destroyed, battery removed, still displaying one unsent voicemail. The recipient was Lena. The duration was 13 minutes. Registry technicians extracted the audio in a sealed environment. It contains Mara speaking to her sister as if across a table. She apologizes for not answering the final call before the accident. She says she was angry and tired and wanted one night without needing to save anyone. Then another voice, not Lena's, says, "Keep apologizing. It makes room." Mara remains under observation. She has no secondary lung structures. She refuses to sleep near running water. Once a month, she coughs up a grain of gray ash. Final note. The Mercy Point ferry terminal replaced its voicemail system with paper logs and a bell. The old server was incinerated. During the burn, personnel heard 6 messages play from inside the flames. The last was Mara's voice, though Mara was in quarantine 2 states away. She said, "If this reaches you, breathe out now."